Welcome to the Bachelor Universe podcast. I am your host, Jim Alexander, and today we are going over episode 4 of season 21 of The Bachelor, Nick Viall, or Viall. So obviously from the previous episode that you've seen, everyone is well aware that Corinne is the antagonist. She is the one that this season's villain, and that's how every episode has been centered on the past 3, technically. It's all about Corinne. We were left off previously with Nick being questioned by the women after his bouncy castle. It happened. So the women aren't pleased about it. Vanessa, which is Nick's, approve at all, and she confronts Nick. So that's how the episode ended, on the confrontation. We start out this episode, the firestorm's still coming at Nick, and Vanessa really lays it into him in this episode. Basically, she gives him a sort of an ultimatum that she will leave if he doesn't tell her that he's there for the right reasons, and tell her that he is looking for a wife, because they, and she in particular, want him to be there for the right reasons and not just for Corinne. Obviously, this guy is going to get the most out of Corinne in every sexualized way, because she's the hookup girl, and he is going to take full advantage of it as long as she's around. Looks like it's a toss-up how long she will be around, because every time you think she's getting close to maybe bidding farewell, she does something to keep herself around. So Corinne so far has 9 lives, and she's using up every one of them. Even though the women are turning against her, but Nick, being aware of what he does and of the show, how it's run, he definitely knows that he wants to keep her around. A early rose ceremony, once again, because they just can't seem to finish episodes with actual rose ceremony. So an early one, and Nick gives roses to Raven, Taylor, Whitney. I don't know who she is and why she's on the show. They barely show this girl. I don't know what she's doing. She's sort of, I'm guessing if they were planning on something, it would be to put this Whitney girl in Bachelor in Paradise, potentially, because her story and her arc is really similar to that of Samantha Steffen, who became a huge Bachelor in Paradise star after being a virtual unknown on Chris's season. No one noticed her there. She really kind of stuck around during the episodes, getting roses, but she had no impact, and they didn't even focus on her. Same story with this Whitney girl. You just don't know who she is and which one she is. She doesn't stand out at all, but there is a reason why she's still, 4 episodes in, and she just gets another rose, so she's sticking around. So there might be something to it. Christina gets a rose, and she's the favorite of mine, the Russian vixen with an accent. She's a smoking hot girl. Christina's something. Definitely someone to keep an eye out on. Jasmine gets a rose. Alexis, the dolphin. Astrid's another one that kind of is flying under the radar, not much talked about her. She's not getting that much attention, but she's still getting roses. I don't know if she's a filler yet or if she's a sleeper. Danielle M., who's kind of cooled off in the recent weeks. She had the first one-on-one date with Nick, and that is my pick to get to the final. But she hasn't been focused on much. Maybe they're just waiting out the Corinne wave of firestorms and insanity. Jamie gets a rose. Josephine, those two just seem to be fillers. Pretty sure they'll be going in the next ceremony. And then Sarah, who also is a borderline filler, sort of kind of in the same boat as Astrid and maybe Whitney. And then the final rose is between Corinne, Kristen, and Brittany. Kristen is the one that befriended Liz and who kind of knew the news about Nick hooking up with Liz. So the rose goes to, of course, Corinne. You got to keep her around. Scare her a little bit, that she went down to the final option, but she's not going anywhere. I'm surprised to see Kristen and Brittany go. Brittany sort of had that little thing with Nick during that odd photo wedding date thing where she was the one that looked smoking hot in that leaf costume, basically naked, but she just had some leaves covering her up. I thought she would stick around. She was getting some good attention and focus on her, but for whatever reason, she's gone. And same thing with Kristen. She's gotten some airtime, and they're both gone. I definitely thought they're going to outlast people like Josephine, Jamie, maybe Astrid, and definitely Whitney. And Jasmine is another one that seems to be a filler right now. A lot of fillers at this point, but these two, wow, gone. A little side note, Brittany was mentioning on her exit that she used to laugh at the women who would be leaving and kind of crying when they get eliminated. Well, she just turned into that one. She's crying and when she's eliminated. So what comes around goes around, Brittany. So we are going out of town. The first out of town date. What could be the destination? And it is Milwaukee. Like, for real. I'm not even joking. The best shot is, like, of the women, a few of them, like, chanting out, "We're going to Milwaukee, yay!" First of all, I can verify this living in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago, close to Milwaukee, actually, and definitely close to Wisconsin border. I can tell you that no woman has ever shouting out that yay to Milwaukee. Said no woman ever in history. So let me be clear with that. So you talk about a producer's call. This was either some great acting by these women to pretend that they're actually excited. I don't know how they could be, but it is what it is, right? So there we go. Excited about Milwaukee. Why? But it gets worse. Just when you think it couldn't get worse, it does. Because they're not just going to Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee's a decent-sized city and all. No, they are going to Waukesha, which is Nick's hometown. Now, you just can't get worse. Now, like, going to Milwaukee is, crap. Not good. But going to Waukesha, that's just, like, it's a punishment. Like, which one of these girls messed up enough to deserve this? Like, that the whole group is getting punished to have to go to Waukesha. Is it maybe the budget of the show that is so low at this point that they can't spend, or they're saving it, that they are left with Waukesha? Because you just can't go worse than that. So congratulations, all of you have been screwed. And speaking of screwed, Danielle L. is the one that is the unfortunate one who gets a one-on-one with Nick, and she gets to go around Waukesha. So, what a surprise! What a treat for Danielle L. I guarantee you, no woman was envious of that date for her. So Nick walks her around town. He's really trying to pump up Waukesha, which is highly improbable thing to do. He also mentioned that this was the first place of many things for him, including being dumped. Now, Nick, that might have been the first place, but there were many more places where you got dumped. So that was just the start and first time you got dumped of many to come, including a few times on national TV. So, great memories. As if it can't get any worse, of course it does, because Nick walks by a coffee shop where he notices his ex sitting in the window. Now, Waukesha might be a town of like 15, but you talk about planting someone in a window. They couldn't even plant a plant in a window that would be as noticeable as this was. Unbelievable. So, yeah. Suddenly, she was the only one in a cafe, and Nick, of all the places he could have gone to, runs into his ex. Coincidence, coincidence, coincidence. Not really. And so Nick decides to go and introduce himself and Danielle to his ex, as if she had forgotten him. Apparently, they were an item back in the day. Let's just say that Nick has really upgraded his taste in those years away from Waukesha. She looks like a Waukesha woman, although like a top-notch Waukesha woman. But does that mean much? Well, there you go. So there it is. That was an awkward date. They're just kind of hanging out outside on the patio, and Nick is more gazing and Google-eyed at his ex than he is at Danielle. She keeps on talking about how uncomfortable she is and how awkward it was. And yeah, obviously it's awkward if Nick invites his former girlfriend. She tries to put in a few words good about him, if that's even possible. So there is that. Danielle just kind of masks it by trying to laugh. You know, those fake, giggly, uncomfortable laughs. Trust me, there's no reason to ever think that Nick is that funny for her to actually laugh like that. So it's just an uncomfortable laugh. So that was odd. Then Nick has a conversation with her about her parents, and she talks about how they were divorced when she was 17, and so that kind of affected her relationship or marriage potential. And she kind of mentions to him that she's not ready in a sense for marriage or anything big, that she just wants to take things slow, and she's taking her time. Well, girl, you are on the wrong show if you want to take things slow and take your time to date, because this is not a show for that. Because you might be getting proposed to in a couple weeks' time. But anyways, Nick doesn't care about any of that, so he gives her a rose. So she gets a date rose because he wants to keep her around for obvious reasons. Same reasons some of these other girls are around, such as Corinne. Then back at the house, there's a date card that arrives, and Danielle M. is the one reading it, and the women are going on a group date, and the group date is Rachel, Alexis, Vanessa, Jasmine, Jamie, Sarah, Whitney, Astrid, Taylor, Justine. Justine? I don't even know what that is. Corinne, Danielle M. So that means that Raven gets a one-on-one date. That was a bit of a surprise. I didn't see Raven getting a one-on-one, but she does. She's that chick from Hoxie, Alabama, I believe, or Arkansas. Same thing. She's from the South, but she's like one of those kind of a surprising blend in a way that she's really from the South. She's got a thick accent. She seems like a really, really Southern chick, but she's a business owner and kind of like a modern day, not to say that everything is like backed up in the South years behind, but she doesn't fit the profile of someone from the deep South. She's got a lot more of a big city kind of approach to life, it seems, the way she does things, and kind of like a professional sense to her. So, whatever, she's an enigma. Um, so there we go. Back to Nick and Danielle. They have he's got a special thing for her. Let me guess. He takes her into some saloon, and of course, there's a concert going on. They brought in everyone from Waukesha to be there. Filled up the place, and they dance. And the awkward and odd thing is, as if this date wasn't awkward and odd to begin with, but uh, some country song. It's kind of a fast-paced song, and Nick and Danielle are trying to dance slowly to it, trying to do a slow dance to a fast-paced song. Then they start making out. It was just all messy, it just didn't add up in any way you want. It was a complete opposite of what was going on behind them. So it is what it is, apparently. Make it more odd, right? They did it well. Now, the group date. So this is where all these women are excited to head into. Well, they are going to visit a barn. They are visiting cute animals, so I can always be cool with that and approve that in my mind because I love animals. So Nick, of course, is milking a cow or feeding it, being the guy, the farmer that he is, right? Yeah, okay. But Danielle M says the biggest lie of the season so far, and that is that she couldn't be any more excited to be anywhere but Wisconsin. Now, she might have some roots to Wisconsin. I believe she does. But once again, there is no woman that's ever said that. Much less, actually not woman. Any person has never said that they wouldn't rather be anywhere else but Wisconsin, and especially Waukesha. You have got to be kidding me. Even natives of Waukesha wouldn't say that. Unreal. Clearly, one person's not having fun, and that is Corinne. Corinne's talking about wanting sushi and how she's not doing this dirt work. This is a square peg in a round hole. She does not fit in there, and you can tell that this girl would rather be anywhere but that place. It's sort of reminiscent, as always, like of Brit. Brit on Chris Soul's season, how she did not want anything to do with the farm. Don't bring her near it because she's not interested. This is the same thing with Corinne. See, guys can tell how these shows repeat itself. Season after season, they use the same mantra, same kind of characters, and same scenarios, and same reactions even. So they know who to cast and how to cast them. So what's the women's thing to do? What's their task? Oh, well, their task is to shovel cow manure. So, yes, they are full of crap, pun intended, having to shovel that. Corinne, of course, isn't, but the rest of them are. This couldn't get any worse, right? Well, there it is. So there we go. There is more. There is a lot more, and time for drinks after everyone milks the cows and does all their work. And it's Russian Wonder Woman, one of my personal favorites, Christina. She kind of gets to chat up Nick a little bit first, and Nick is not really having much of it. So he shuts her down talking. And then Vanessa comes around, so of course she gets the time with Nick. And she shows him some card her kids wrote at school for him. Those kids don't know what they're doing. Come on. What a teacher putting these kids through nonsense to write about Nick. You can do better, Vanessa. Corinne, meanwhile, is trying to rationalize with all the women and explain how mature she is and how she's there for the right reasons, while the women use that point against her, not believing she's there for the right reasons or she's mature enough to have a relationship, and they attack her sleeping patterns, which Corinne compares to, obviously she likes taking naps, as Michael Jordan did and Abe Lincoln. So she brings up Abe Lincoln and Michael Jordan and her. Now that's a holy trinity right there. I mean, you talk about three greats, an all-time athlete, an all-time president, and an all-time bachelor disaster. So she is right about that. Mount Rushmore right there of three greats. Valid points by Corinne. But Christina's not having it now. So she confronts Corinne. And Corinne sort of tries to fight back and defend herself. But she then tells Christina that it was a medical condition that prevented her from not attending the ceremony for sleeping so much. And we realize this medical condition is panic attacks. Panic attacks that Corinne claims to have. Which sounds awfully familiar to another contestant who used panic attacks as number one excuse. That would be Kelsey Poe from Chris Soule's season. So like I said, what comes around goes around on these shows. It's a rehash of previous people and seasons. But yeah, so Nick is handing out roses now for the group date, and it goes to Christina. Christina gets a rose. Didn't see that one coming. That came out of left field. Could be two reasons. Maybe he's just digging the accent, which I can't blame him for. Or he needs a teeth cleaning. He's overdoing a teeth cleaning. So who better than Christina, a dental hygienist? So I'd go with both as being possibilities why he gave her the rose. So keeping her around for personal reasons and gains. So then Raven's date with Nick. And so you think that you have it bad by going to Wisconsin. Have it worse by learning you go to Waukesha, and then you're cleaning cow crap. You don't get a date, but the girl that gets a date gets a tour of Waukesha, which is a punishment. So what does Raven get? Well, she gets to meet Nick's sister, Bella, one of 103 Viall kids. So, because that family just keeps on reproducing like some I don't know what reproduces a lot, insects maybe, but they do. There's a lot of kids. So Bella is the youngest, and they attend her soccer game or practice, which is once again an awful date. So Raven gets screwed because she has to pretend to play soccer. Nick proves that he will most likely definitely be the worst soccer dad out there. He can't defend a goal for his life, and not very good at soccer. So soccer dad, not Nick Viall. And then we have the soccer date misery that turns into a next date. And it's more miserable than the first one, because all these little girls these preteens that they had to play soccer with, well, they're going with them to the next date, which is to the skating rink. So, roller skating rink. And there, Christina's luckily at home, or away from this date. But Raven actually gets to talk to Bella a bit. But what else is there to do for her? I mean, the whole rink, the skating place, is filled with like 12-year-olds. So clearly Nick had a good spot to go to hang out with more 12-year-olds. So who are the tag-alongs on this date? Can't imagine the joy that Raven must have had with that. So they get saved. There's always a dinner date, right? So their dinner date finally gets them out of all this nonsense. And they go to the Milwaukee Museum, which is pretty cool. It looks really neat from the inside. So that's at least a positive, good thing. Raven reveals a story about how she caught her ex cheating on her, and she walked in on it. She kind of called it the spider monkey thing. So that's her new shtick, spider monkey. How she got word that he was cheating at their place with some other girl, and she came down and literally knocked down the doors, kicked them in. Now, saying that she did the spider monkey thing. I don't know what a spider monkey is. I don't know, it's because I'm from like the Midwest or North. Maybe this is like a Southern thing, or it's most likely just a Raven thing that makes no sense. But knocking down doors, I don't think anything that's a spider or a monkey would. Most likely, Raven, you're the Hulk, okay? And that's why you're knocking down doors and catching your ex butt naked. So yeah, those apparently were the magic words as Nick gives her a dating rose for the date. So it worked. Kudos to her, I guess. Then the production, now it's more explained why all these Waukesha dates and with nothing in it, because they found the best shack in Waukesha or Wisconsin in general, dressed it up, and the rose ceremony is going to be held at this house. Oh joy. But they also have a fire outside, just like instead of having a fireplace inside, they could easily roast marshmallows if they wanted to outside. But they have a little fire going, and this is where Firestorm Corinne is about to take off again, because Taylor and Corinne have been building their feud. Their animosity has been brewing since a few episodes back, actually. Definitely last episode. This one from the start. So it's finally comes to a head where they have a sit down, quote unquote, and basically attack each other. And Corinne is getting so frustrated that she mentions that she just wants to punch Taylor for what she's saying. And she, of course, defends herself as someone that runs a multi-million dollar business, which we know, Corinne, it's Raquel who runs it, not you. So get over that. So that's a fact. But yeah, as things get heated, as she threatens to punch her, the end. Another episode, another cop-out, kind of a to-be-continued thing comes up. So there we go. Once again, out of order, everything. We don't know what's happening next, but we do know that something's going to go down because the preview for the next episode mentions that one of Taylor or Corinne will be going home by the end of the next episode, which we know is no surprise because Taylor's barely made a mark herself, so she will clearly be leaving the mansion and probably not missing out much. So see ya, Taylor, as the preview indicates for you next week. So that was the episode. I'd give it a rating of like a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really interesting and solid in a sense. It was just entertaining. You know, a lot of Wisconsin jokes came across on Twitter and a lot of stuff to kind of poke fun on. And the women were in awkward situations throughout. Nothing was comfortable. Nick gave out some interesting roses to Raven and Christina. So new people were kind of peeking in and showing who they are. So it was not necessarily dramatic or twisted or shocks or anything like that. It was just a kind of a plain normal goofy episode of The Bachelor with silly dates. So there you go. And a silly location. Waukesha. Who knew that would be on the map? Unbelievable. But that's what it was, and that recaps episode 4 of The Bachelor this week. Make sure to keep following my blog for any updates. It's at bacheloruniverse.wordpress.com. So Bachelor Universe, one word basically, .wordpress.com. You can find all my blog entries and more in-depth analysis maybe, or just more in-depth, probably this. But it's all there. You can also follow me on Twitter, at JimRKO. So that's at JIMRKO. Any questions or anything you guys want to mention about The Bachelor or ask, just tweet at me and follow me. So greatly appreciated for that. Another interesting episode coming up next week. We'll see what the fallout is of Corinne versus Taylor showdown. Probably not much, but we've been promised that, and it's going to come to a head. The feud's going to end. But Corinne should outlast this day and live another day. So for now, that will conclude this week's episode, and talk to you guys next week. Follow the Bachelor universe. So see you later. Bye, guys.